Troubling accusations surrounding Grizzlies star Ja Morant have now been made public. Threatened a Memphis mall security guard during a parking lot altercation. 4 days later, Morant was accused of punching a 17-year-old boy in the head repeatedly. And these are just the latest accusations surrounding the two-time All-Star who has been in the center of issues both on and off the court.
We were supposed to make a follow-up video to our original Ja Morant video that we made in December. If you guys remember, I recorded that while I was visiting Israel. Originally, I just let it go because we had so much stuff with the trade deadline and eventually it became old news, and I just figured that it took a back seat to all the other crazy stuff that was happening, like Kevin Durant getting traded to the Suns, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt being traded to the Lakers, Russell Westbrook being bought out and signed with the Clippers, in addition to a lot of other crazy stuff that happened in the trade deadline. And it seems like even though we decided to ignore it, it just keeps coming back. More and more stories are coming out, and there's even added layers to the original story that I brought you guys. So before we get to the content, first things first, these are all allegations. We don't necessarily know if they're factual, so just keep that in mind. I'm just here to bring you what people are saying about the incident from some credible sources, some maybe not so credible. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. So I've made almost $5,000 playing this game over the past couple months and posting my picks and selections onto my Instagram story for you guys to follow them. And the game that I'm obviously talking about is Prize Picks. Right now, when you use my promo code microphone, they'll match up to $100 of your initial deposit with another $100. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, yesterday I had Killian Hayes getting less than 21 points, rebounds, and assists. You went into the third quarter with 18, and he finished the game with 20.5. I can't tell you how euphoric that feeling was when I saw that I was able to make $210 off of a pick that came within 0.5 of not hitting. So if you want to check out Prize Picks, make sure you use my promo code microphone for a free 100% deposit match up to $100. And follow me on Instagram if you want to follow my picks on Instagram. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't want people to look at this video and say,
Mike, you're a Laker fan. You want Ja Morant to fail.
No, I am a member of NBA YouTube, NBA Media, and there's something that we discuss quite consistently. As a person that does NBA content and NFL content on microphone, the one thing that I talk to my friends about repeatedly that concerns me about the NBA is who is going to get the torch from LeBron James once LeBron James retires. There's been moments where the interest in the NBA has slightly declined, mainly because of the lack of star power in the NBA or the fact that the stars aren't doing so well in the NBA. So I am rooting for every single young star, young athlete in the NBA and NFL. The NFL already has its answer in Patrick Mahomes. The NBA, not so much. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm over here rooting for Ja Morant to fail, because I want this young man to succeed, even though the Grizzlies are in the West, where my Los Angeles Lakers are. That's me being as transparent as I possibly could be with you guys. But unfortunately, there are many stories out there that make Ja Morant look like anything but a model citizen. And it's not just one situation. We covered one situation a couple months ago, and I took Morant's side at the time. I figured this is coming out of nowhere. There's no way Morant would have done something like this. Maybe someone's out there for a payday. I said that in the video straight up. But as time progressed, you're hearing multiple other stories. There's two new stories in addition to the one that I told you recently, and the one that we told you recently in December has a new added layer in it. Apparently there's a weapon involved from Ja Morant's side, or maybe Ja Morant himself. So there's a lot to cover. It all starts with one story that I neglected about a month ago. You may have heard of this. And this story had to do with a Indiana Pacers versus Memphis Grizzlies game, where according to The Athletic, which The Athletic rarely misses, this is Bob Kravitz and Sam Amick. They usually do remarkable reporting. Sam Amick and Shams Charania are both up there for me whenever it comes to these types of stories. The NBA probed an incident involving associates of Grizzlies Ja Morant, a red laser trained on Pacers team members. If there's a red laser training on the Pacers team member, one would assume that the red laser is something trying to point at a specific human being may be an attachment of, I don't know, a weapon of some sort. I'm no genius, but check this out. The story goes like this. Following a game between the Indiana Pacers and the Memphis Grizzlies on January 29th in Memphis, acquaintances of Grizzlies star Ja Morant aggressively confronted members of the Pacers traveling party near the team's bus in the loading area of FedEx Forum. And later, someone in a slow-moving SUV, which Morant was riding in, trained a red laser on them. The two members of the traveling party who spoke to The Athletic said that they did not see who shined the laser from the SUV. They also don't know if the laser was attached to a gun, but they believed it was. A Pacers security guard in the loading area at the time remarked, "That's 100% a gun. We felt like we were in grave danger," one person who was present said. Two sources who spoke to The Athletic requested anonymity because they fear retribution from those who confronted them. They said they considered filing a report with the police, but decided against it for the same reason. It's crazy, okay? And I'm sure a lot of you guys know of this story. They felt threatened, and they still didn't file a report because they feared for their lives. That's crazy to me. Now, don't worry, Ja Morant would respond to this, but the story would continue by saying, NBA security and league investigators conducted an investigation, interviewing numerous eyewitnesses and reviewing video surveillance following allegations made by the Indiana Pacers organization regarding a post-game incident on January 29th. While we substantiated that a post-game situation arose that was confrontational based on interviews and other evidence gathered, we could not corroborate that any individual threatened others with a weapon. Certain individuals involved in the post-game situation and a related matter during the game that night have been subsequently banned from attending games in the arena. If additional information becomes available related to the post-game situation, the league office will conduct a further review. So for those of you guys that don't know what started this whole thing, it all stemmed from this one video where Ja Morant and Andrew Nembhard got into it, which resulted in eventually James Johnson getting involved. And as a result, Ja Morant's friend, Devontae Pack, was escorted off of the floor. So as a result, Devontae Pack was banned from attending games. And there are parts of this report that are interesting. I mean, apparently in the third quarter, Pack walked onto the court and directed expletives at multiple Pacers players. A game referee got involved. He called arena security. Pack was removed from the floor. Apparently after the game, he was reportedly waiting 30 to 40 yards away from the Indiana Pacers team bus. He had 4 to 5 other men that came within 30 feet of the bus and began shouting at the Pacers. Now, this is what Ja Morant had to say about the report at the time.
Nah, all that stuff, pretty much false. It's been proven. That's all I got to say on it. I honestly don't care, bro. I'm not, at this point in my life, man, I'm protecting my energy, bro. Not responding to nobody else, not entertaining nobody else. That's what they need, likes and clicks.
Ja Morant 100% denied it. What about his head coach? Does his head coach Taylor Jenkins have Ja Morant's side? Does he think it's fake news, or does he think that Ja Morant should
Get it together and focus on the game.
Well, this is what Taylor Jenkins had to say.
Yeah, I mean, that was addressed internally, aware of the investigation of the NBA, did a full-on investigation. We were fully compliant with it, and I think they came out with a statement saying nothing was corroborated or found. So, that's what I know, and that's all I'm going to comment about.
Of course, Shannon Sharp would comment on the situation at the time by saying this.
Ja's a really good basketball player. Ja did everything he could to lift himself and his family out of this type of environment and to get away from this. He wants to surround himself with these type of people. Why? Bruh, you not hard. That's not your life. You want people in the NBA to think you hood, to think you gangster. Nobody looks at you, Ja, and think, man, that's a thug. He hood.
Obviously, Shannon Sharp might have a little bit, just a tiny little vendetta against the Memphis Grizzlies as a result of this altercation. So I don't necessarily know if he's going to have the most unbiased opinion here, but since Ja Morant claimed it was fake news, it seemed like everyone eventually moved on from this report to begin with. But what was really interesting at this time was, obviously, I cover the NFL as well. I always thought that some athletes were taking a little dig at Ja Morant, saying, pro athletes, if you really come from the trenches, you ain't gotta prove it every time eyes are on you. A lot of y'all ain't even like that for real, and that's fine. All your life, you grind to go pro, make it pro and start making millions, and then turn gangsta? That's backwards. I commented on this post 3 weeks ago saying, this is a message for Ja Morant. But at the end of the day, we just moved on from it. This was the second incident in regards to Ja Morant within a month-and-a-half span at the time, but I was distracted by the trade deadline. We're not that large of an operation, so my apologies apologies for not being able to get you a video out on this at the time, but that's what I was going to bring to you guys. Now, the reason why I'm bringing all this up to you guys now is we have another report on Ja Morant. One has to do with the TMZ report we brought you in December, and the other, in my opinion, is just ridiculous, and I don't even know if the other one is true. So let's get to the first one. If you remember, a couple of months ago, I brought you guys a report on Ja Morant getting sued for allegedly punching a teen during a basketball game at home. The suit was filed in Shelby County in September. Court records show the case has since been sealed, but we've learned it all stems from a July 26th incident at Ja Morant's residence in Tennessee. According to police documents, a 17-year-old who filed the lawsuit on September 9 told cops that he was playing in a pickup basketball game with Morant at the house when the two got into a verbal altercation. Plaintiff, according to the docs, said the argument became heated and he threw a basketball at Morant, accidentally hitting him in the face. The teenager said the Grizzlies point guard then approached him, put his chin on his shoulder, and asked a bystander, "Should I do it to him?" The teen said Morant then struck him with a closed fist, knocking him to the ground. Now, according to the documents, the 17-year-old also said that Morant continued quote-unquote sticking him while he was on the ground and claims that another man jumped in and began hitting him as well. Officers in the docs say that they noted that the teenager had a large knot on his head, and cops say that Ja Morant admitted to striking the teenager but insisted that he was acting in self-defense. Morant said the plaintiff threw the ball at him intentionally during the argument and then began to approach him as if he wanted to fight. Police say Morant also told him his brother was involved in the altercation as well, but the basketball player did not name who. Both parties, according to the docs, say that the fight was broken up by spectators shortly after it began. Morant told officers the teenager made verbal threats, stating that he'd light his house up as he was being escorted off the property. Morant advised he and his family were put in fear by the statement. According to the docs, the police investigated the allegations for several weeks before they submitted the case to the DA's office on October 4th. Less than a month later, cops say that the DA declined prosecution. It's unclear what the plaintiff is seeking in the suit. Court records show Morant, as well as his childhood friend Devontae Pack, are listed as defendants. Isn't that interesting? Once again, we're hearing about Morant and his buddy Devontae Pack. Now, we already have our own video of this incident, but apparently and allegedly, there's a new element to this story, which is insane. Take a look at this. Apparently, Ja Morant was accused of punching the 17-year-old 12 to 13 times and flashing a gun at him during a pickup basketball game last summer, according to a police report obtained by Molly Hensley Clancy. Now, bear in mind, Morant even said in an interview with the police that he swung first in the alleged fight with the teenager, and he was acting in self-defense because the teenager threw a basketball at his head and stepped towards him, and that's the add-on to the incident. Apparently and allegedly, Ja Morant punched the kid, a 17-year-old kid, 12 to 13 times, and apparently flashed a gun as well. So that is the second of 3 stories we have for you guys, and yeah, it's that crazy. The last one could potentially be untrue. It sounds untrue. Oh my god, I hope to god it's untrue, because this is the most bizarre, like, fake gangsta thing. What was it that 50 Cent would call them? Wanksta? Like, one of those types of stories, and I don't know, it's so unnecessary, in my opinion, for any player of Ja Morant's caliber, any man that is making $200 million to engage in this type of behavior that could sabotage and ruin his career. You have made $200 million. You're already a legend in Tennessee. You're one of the best athletes in Tennessee's basketball history. Why would you ruin that? Everyone knows who you are in your state where you live. I don't understand why he's doing this if these allegations are true, but at the same time, when you have 3 stories that are all alleging that Ja Morant is involved in the same type of behavior, one has to wonder, this isn't just 1 story or 2 stories, it's 3 freaking stories. Okay, here, let me get to the third one. The third one is the most bizarre story you've ever heard, so check this out. It's titled A Call from the Mall. Ja Morant is known for high-flying dunks, a thirst for trash talk, and a tight-knit relationship with his father, T, who sits courtside at many games. His family has become so much a part of Morant's brand that T. Morant narrated the commercial launching his son's latest major brand deal with Powerade. Ja Morant was one of the stars of last year's playoffs before the Grizzlies lost a heated series, the eventual champion Golden State Warriors. 2 months after the loss to the Golden State Warriors, Morant's mother was at a Finish Line shoe store at a Memphis mall when she got into a dispute with a store employee, according to a Memphis police report obtained by the Post. She called Morant, who arrived shortly after with a group of as many as 9 other people. Confronted by the director of mall security, Morant and his friends refused the security guard's demands to leave the mall parking lot. Police arrived and a verbal confrontation escalated. The report says until someone in the group allegedly pushed the security director in the head. As the group was leaving the premises, Ja Morant said, "Let me find out what time he gets off," police wrote in the report. The guard wanted to file a report, police wrote, because he felt threatened by the statement from Ja Morant and had been assaulted by the person who had pushed him. The disturbing parties left the scene and no arrests were made. The Grizzlies, NBA, and Morant's agent did not respond to questions about the incident. The security guard declined to comment. I don't understand why he puts himself in these situations. You make $200 million, there's a target on your back. People would try to put you in situations so they could sue you for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, especially after you collected that brand new rookie max. That man is operating like he's the godfather of Memphis, and I don't necessarily see why. I understand the argument's gonna be,
But Mike, he needs to protect his family. He needs to protect his mother.
bro, just hire a security guard. Hire 2, hire 3. Put one on each member of your family to protect them. You don't need to get involved. There's no reason for you to be carrying a weapon. Why would you do that to your family? Why would you do it to yourself? Why would you tarnish your brand like that? He is one of the most marketable players in the NBA right now. New Orleans Pelicans fans are seething at the prospect of what could have been if they had selected Ja Morant with the #1 pick in the 2019 NBA draft. Imagine Ja Morant, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, all on one team. Whew. I just don't understand, because Morant is clearly one of the most marketable players in the NBA. There's a reason why Powerade resurrected their campaign and made him the face of their campaign. It's the first brand deal that they did in 5 years, and they did it around Ja Morant. It just doesn't make sense to me. I do want to believe this isn't true, but there's 3 different stories that are all eerily similar. It's kind of like the Deshaun Watson situation. I mean, not directly and not exactly, but in the sense that you want to believe that what Deshaun Watson is being accused of is untrue. But as there's more and more people coming out and speaking about it and saying something similar happened to them, eventually got to a point of like 23 people, and apparently there's more. I'm not necessarily sure. We haven't covered it in a while. At a specific point, you have to wonder, like, is what is being said about this human being true? Or are a bunch of people teaming up together to sabotage him? I'm not necessarily sure. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.